The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is cloud-enabled testing, and our guest speaker today are Sridhar Throvanganta. He is the Global Head Test Advisory Services with Wipro, and Rupesh Garg. He is the Senior Manager Test Advisory Services with Wipro. Sridhar is Global Head of Test Advisory Services with a focus on evangelizing a transformational shift from software testing to business assurance. His experience spans defining business strategies, nurturing global accounts, and mentoring geographically spread teams. He is an IIM alumnus and a computer science engineer. He is passionate about homeopathy, anthropology, and other holistic disciplines. Rupesh is working as Senior Manager with Test Advisory Services. His areas of expertise include performance automation, cloud-based testing solutions, and innovation. He holds a MS from Oklahoma State University, USA, and bachelor's degree in engineering PMP and ITIL Foundation certified. He has also completed executive management programs from IAMC and Harvard University. He is passionate about spiritual sciences and social work. So, without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speakers. Over to you, Sridhar.
Thank you, Aradhana. Good evening. I hope I am loud and clear.
Voice is loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, Cloud-Enabled Testing. And I also have Rupesh with me here. Hi, Rupesh.
Hello, Sridhar. How are you?
I'm good. So, cloud-enabled testing, yeah?
Yes. Today we are on cloud-enabled testing, yes.
Right. So, over a period of time, what has happened is I noticed that the so-called phenomenon of SMAC or SOCOMO, the socially connected mobile and cloud, has become a really emerging technology that is kind of driving the future along with, in fact, it's kind of enabling the Internet of Things as well, the future of the digitally connected society. So I think a cloud as an enabler as well as an emerging technology has a lot of importance in the future economy and society. What are quick thoughts, Rupesh?
Yes, exactly, very much true. I think SOCOMO is the thing Sridhar, which is really driving the whole industry as of now. And definitely cloud is one of the very, very important key players, to be kept in mind, and we should all be learning and implementing in our day-to-day life. Yes, very much true.
Right. So today the webinar is coming to you from the expert panel, which is from the Wipro, as Aradhana said. We both are from Test Advisory Services. So on the screens you can see the motto of Test Advisory Services, which is to do with helping customers do business better. So our agenda for today is quite simple. We are not trying to get into some of the nitty-gritties of cloud. We'll keep it light and simple. We really want to kind of discuss the drivers for cloud and its emergence. And very briefly, we want to discuss what is cloud and what benefits does it bring. And what are the implications for testing world? The import of or majority of our discussion should be here on how testing the cloud and testing of the cloud is going to be a very important element in the entire scheme of things. And we also would like to highlight some challenges and issues that come up when you're trying to test these kind of things on the cloud. So, fair and simple.
Yes, I think awesome awesome start, Shira. It looks perfect.
Right. So let's chase the rainbow on the cloud then.
Yes. Let's get started.
Okay. All right. So let's jump on to the key drivers.
Yes.
So if you really look at it, there are drivers from the business world, there are drivers from the technology world, and then there are drivers from the testing world that are driving cloud. Agree, Rupesh?
Agree, very much agree. All the three things, are driving the industry further, and we are going to look at all the three aspects today. Yes.
Absolutely. So let's look at some of the drivers that we are listing for today. We chose to highlight a few. There could be many more, and they will all be in clusters of these three categories that I just said. One is going to be around the business. The second cluster of drivers is going to be around technology. The third cluster is going to be around testing. So if you look at it, there is a global change that is going on in the industry today. That is about the influence of CFO, how it is growing in the organization. For the uninitiated, CFO stands for the Chief Financial Officer. And the CFOs globally are becoming very, very important in organizations. There is a Gartner report which actually says that anywhere from 42 to 43% of CIOs across the globe now report into CFOs. That's an interesting trend, and this is growing. And other than that, the same report also argues or makes a case that about 80% of technology investment decisions today are taken by CFOs. If not taken, at least they influence about 80% of the technology investment decisions. What does it mean to the technology world? What does it mean to testers? What it means is we should be in a position to communicate the benefits in financial terms, not in technical terms or how cool the technology is, but in terms of return on investment that CFO is bringing to the table. So that is one interesting trend. So what does it mean? So CFOs or the organizations are no longer interested in adopting a technology because it's cool or happening, but they would want to see a return on investment once they put in their money. And there is a constant drive to minimize the cost. There is always a budget squeeze, and there is always an ask from CFO, how are you going to flow back the benefits? Are you going to show me year-on-year benefits, so on and so forth? So very interestingly, cloud really answers this question by actually converting some of the capital expenditure into an operational expenditure, by allowing you to move into innovative commercial models such as pay-per-use. And it's really an answer to some of the biggest concerns that the CFO all along had. Rupesh, any quick thoughts on this one?
Yeah, very much true, Shida. I think, if we look at it, cloud can, the way we are seeing that, the Gartner paper say, or the, leading research analysts say that, the CFO's influence is increasing, which is eventually getting more out of dollars. And, eventually the regular, which we see that, the cloud can be one of the enablers which can help us to realize that benefit out of that particular, at least satisfy one of the needs of the CTO, CFO, which is not dominating. The pressure is that invest less into business, get more, more returns out of the business. So both ways, in the CapEx perspective and OpEx perspective, both ways it will give, lot of lever into our hands when we move on to our cloud stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, if you look at one of the first things that we listed as drivers is also about underutilization of IT infrastructure. So if you really look at it, there's a lot of IT infrastructure out there that enterprises kind of invest in, and for different reasons, it does not get utilized to its maximum potential possible. For instance, there could be a lot of servers that, environments that are created for IT testing. and they're dedicated to testing, and they may not even be getting utilized fully. So these are the kind of concerns that can be addressed if you adopt a cloud strategy. And CFO will be very, very happy to kind of see this kind of a trend growing. Rupesh?
Yes, very, very much good points, Shida. I think, underutilization of IT infrastructure is a very key pain area. I'm saying most of us who work in and out in the testing department, they will know that, most of the times, even if 100 machines are allocated for the testing engagement, for the first 5 months, 5 months after 6 months of the engagement, you will not use it, right? You will use it only for the last 1 month. And that month you might need 200 machines, but you don't have it in hand. So that's the biggest problem. So, that's the cloud can definitely enable into a, into a solution.
Absolutely. Just to kind of highlight or, kind of heighten the need for this, I would like to kind of bring in focus a study by IBM, which kind of says that about 30 to 50% of all the servers within a typical IT environment are dedicated to test. However, most of these test servers actually run at 3 to 5% utilization if at all. So you can see the scope for optimizing or scope for variabilization right there. So there is about 50% of the infrastructure dedicated to testing, and it gets utilized at 5%, which is like not sounding like much, does it?
Yeah,
So,
very much. That's very much true in pretty much most of the engagements, which we see full-scale running testing engagements that our infrastructure utilization is very low.
All right. So definitely business would want to see if they can convert this capital expenditure into operational expenditure or variabilize it or move to a model where they pay for what they use, and they would love to pay month on month as opposed to incur a huge cost today and then put themselves at risk of obsolescence of servers, so on and so forth. Technology changes very rapidly. They may have to upgrade their servers very soon. So these are all various things that they would want to avoid. So these are one set of cluster of drivers that is pushing cloud to prominence as well. So the other side of it is, we said testing itself is one of the drivers. Why is it so? Okay, we can actually quote from a study that we have done, Test Advisory Services at Wipro. We have conducted a study. We noticed that in a typical test engagement, about 40% of a tester's time gets wasted, and gets wasted for issues with environment, with issues with configuring the environment, or some very basic things like that. And this is an anomaly, which is ironical, that about 50% of the environments are dedicated to test. However, about 40% of the time gets wasted. So this is one driver. Then if you look at it, if you kind of analyze the defects that are typically logged, about 30% of the defects in typical test engagement or test program or a project belong to environment space again, wrongly configured environment, so on and so forth. So there is a need from the testing community also to have a much more stable environment which is configured right and which is ready to use, right? So that's another trend from the testing world that is out there. Any quick thoughts on this one, Rupesh, that has your experience also kind of corroborate these figures?
Very much in alignment with what you shared, Shida, because a lot of time, both the aspects are very much true. Number one is, I would say all the three aspects which we have listed over here. Number one, underutilization of infrastructure. Number two, wrongly injection of the defects into the environment. Number three, the testers' time getting wasted in running around with the environment issues. Though the feeling from the management remains that we have been investing a lot into tools, either talking about quality center, load and learn, or several other tools, or from talking about machines, deploying machines in the lab. But the feeling of the management remains they have invested a lot, but feeling of the ground remains that we are running around every day with the same issues. So very much this is very much true in day-to-day life of anybody who has worked on the floor kind of thing. So
absolutely. So if you see, we already covered some of the other points here, which are about converting the fixed costs into variable costs, or pay only for the usage, or even link
yes.
the payment to outcomes. So these are some of the other drivers that are at play, and if you really look at it, this is not new in only technology world. This is what is happening in rest of the other realms of our life as well. I see on the net a lot of people compare the paper use, typically examples they give around a cab versus owning a car. So both could be the same thing if you are using the same model and all that. However, in one case of owning the car, you are investing heavily initially and then you are maintaining it also. Whereas in the cab model, which is the cloud model, you are only paying per use of moving from point A to point B. The functionality remains the same with some changes in some of the software attributes. You have the same functionality. That's the kind of same model we are talking about on the cloud as well. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think good sum up. I think should agree with you. Most of these drivers are very much driving today's market, to us. So even we have counted onto several other factors also in this particular discussion. Yes. Let's proceed with the next one. So.
Right. So if you look at it, I am moving on to slide number 5. That is an industry survey is showed here. This is how the cost of hosting a data center go up over a period of time with the additional installed capacity. And this is an IDC survey. It's available on the net for anybody who wants to see. So the 3 components that they have taken are around power and cooling of this infrastructure, the management and administration associated with it, and the new server spending, which is going to be added every now and then. So if you really look at it, the people cost, the management and administration overhead really goes high over a period of time. So this is something that is not directly related to the business. So organizations would want to ideally get it out of, kind of outsource this particular requirement to other organizations, and then it becomes like a business of its own. So that is another reason why you are seeing emergence of so many providers in the market. What do you think, Arun?
Yes. Yeah, Shridhar, this graph brings one more important point in my mind. If we recall that when Google started off in 97, 98, they had only a couple of machines to serve onto this search engine. So what happened over a due course of time? What happened over a due course of time is that their requests were increasing onto the server, and they did not have enough infrastructure. They started to load their machines into independent data centers. Then they realized that even having a pure play data centers will not help them. They need to build certain kind of optimization into their cooling mechanism, how their power bills can be reduced, how they can optimize the whole infrastructure, which can be utilized in a more and more effective manner. So if somebody spends a little more time in understanding how Google manages their data center on Wikipedia, they can get an awesome understanding on this slide also that what this slide really means, because most of the larger organizations, companies like Microsoft, HP, or even talk about Computer Associates, several companies who are managing really, really large data centers, they're suffering from this problem, all these issues. They're deploying, money, pumping more and more money into servers. They are having a lot of power and cooling issues. They're having a lot of management and administration. So even if you go with any kind of typical IT company, their total power bills might be so high to manage the data centers that they might be spending more than 10% of their monthly billing, monthly revenue onto only managing their data centers. Only for the power and cooling system. So it's amazing. I totally agree. With whatever is countered. In fact, before even I saw this slide before, I had a gut feeling that something like this, graph can be made out. But it was good. Somebody who has collected data really gave a good, representation of all these three aspects.
Right. Absolutely. So, so if you really look at it, so if I kind of key takeaway from this particular slide, it is not really in the interest of any enterprise to kind of own this kind of overhead for reasons that we just discussed in the earlier slides. The reasons of not making any business sense, not making any technical sense, nor does it help testers. So if there is a company out there that wants to take it over as its own core competency, it makes sense to outsource. Is it not, Rupesh?
Yes, yes. I totally agree with you, Shiva. I mean, it makes sense, because this is a very important data which really shows that what industry is looking like as of now in the how the infrastructure is being managed.
All right. So let me move on to the next slide, which is next agenda item for us, which is about what is cloud. So if you really look at it, it is a dynamically scalable and often virtualized resources which are spread across. In technical terms, it's akin to a distributed network out there, where the machines are connected and distributed across. If I have to draw a parallel to a software scenario, it is something akin to having a service-oriented architecture, where there are clearly defined ways of communicating between different software components. So, do you see the analogy, Rupesh?
I agree with each other. And it's like purely a plug-and-play system, which is a service-oriented architecture cases. The same thing we get it out of cloud-based environments, where you can plug in and plug out at any given time. So yes.
So as Mark Anderson was saying the other day, software is eating the world today. It's because of these culmination of technologies that have come together, which are kind of allowing us to deliver software products and services in a radically different way than before. And the same trend when we see in platforms and hardware or hardware plus software, that is kind of bringing us to cloud. Is that a good way to sum it up?
Yeah, makes sense. And definitely the software, life is now so much more dependent on the software that I think we are actually living the life of software. And I think a couple of weeks back when you were explaining the Internet of Things, I can kind of relate to it so much that now day to day our life is so much integrated with the software life that everywhere we are dependent on the IT system which is working in the background in our life.
Absolutely. So today, the world we are moving into is actually bringing the convenience of so many things into our fingertips. The wearable technology is becoming the next big thing. And of course, underlying all this are technologies like cloud, which are kind of really enabling this. So there are different flavors of cloud also. At its bare minimum, it is providing this infrastructure, that is infrastructure as a service. At the next level, you provide not only the infrastructure, but the ability to create software or do some computing, which is your platform as a service. At a next higher level, you have software as a service, where you are enabling certain services through a browser or otherwise you are enabling certain service to the user, and he pays only for what he wants. So these are different flavors of cloud that are out there.
Yes. Yeah, one of like if I would say if we look at as fast and fast, and everybody will agree with me that Gmail is the software which I think more or less everybody uses in game and out of their life, right, these days, which is which actually shifted the power out of the hands of Microsoft to Google about 7-8 years back. And that has been one of the successful cloud stories in the world that, they provided a successful software on the cloud without any charges to customers.
Interesting. That's very interesting actually.
Right.
So obviously cloud is also kind of providing a lot of benefits associated with it, which are like very nicely represented on the slide also. Immediately what strikes me there is a pay as you use, which when it comes to hardware could mean a lot to the enterprise. Or your ability to deploy in an agile fashion, or somebody providing you a 24/7 support, or your ability to scale up and scale, kind of ramp down as on demand. For example, I think we will anyway cover one example later on. If you take the case of a retail player, there would be peaks and peaks of demand online when certain campaign runs or during a holiday season, so on and so forth, during which point in time he may want to scale up. But rest of the year he may not be using it. So your ability to scale up and kind of scale down on demand is a great flexibility for an organization. So similarly, similarly, your ability to pay only for your use, ultimately you are bringing in utility into computing.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
All right. So
it's it's even like if you recall, I think 6-7 months back we were discussing a paper which is written by our CTO who says IT as a utility. That the industry is slowly moving to a direction that we are not dependent or we are not signing any contract with any IT services, either infrastructure, software services, or as a software development exercise. Rather, whenever you are using the service, you will have to pay to your provider. So that's where it's like a electricity bill. If you are on vacation for a month, you don't have to pay any bill. So eventually, industry is moving to that particular direction.
Absolutely. I think that's a trend that is across the globe and different spheres of life, that we are tending to outsource whatever is not core to our business or life. And that then makes a business case. And eventually, probably, we are moving into a direction where competitive advantages are kind of enabled, for nations or for organizations, so on and so forth. So it's a good trend over a period of time. We are maximizing the potential of different entities based on their acquired specialization, right?
I agree with you. I totally agree. Yeah.
So, we have listed different players in the industry today across these 3 flavors of cloud. I moved on to the next slide. So if you look at infrastructure, there are players like SkyTab, Rackspace, Amazon, and platform as a service. You have Google, Ports.com, so on and so forth. Microsoft also plays in this space. There are enterprises or companies like Flickr, Salesforce, again Microsoft in software as a service. So these are all different flavors and different players positioning themselves across these 3 flavors. what we are showing is essentially a representative sample, which is not the full and final. So that is how we are stacked up. So if you, Rupesh, if you have any other thoughts on this slide?
Yeah, I'm just sure that like one of the things I think somehow unfortunately is missing on the slide is my favorite topic of gmail.com. So that is not there on the that is not there on the right box, software as a service. But another thing which I always talk is about Salesforce.com, that how a simple company, like very simple application like Salesforce.com became overhit, like it became a $5 billion company. While what it is, it's a very simple software provided on a web-based service, which is hosted in a cloud application, and very, very simple service. But the industry is that, like if you look 20 years back, the industry was upkeeping and upcoming with the trend of doing outsourcing. But I would say we should start seeing now that the industry is moving toward cloud sourcing. So because everybody wants to move to cloud and see how they can save money from wherever they are providing services, right? So these are like few companies who really have made it a big hit in the industry.
Absolutely. In fact, you reminded me of a Forrester paper, which is appropriately titled as, eventually the CEOs have to answer the question, why not run on the cloud? So basically what he's saying is, it's not a question of if, it's only a question of when. And if you are not doing it right now, you will be questioned in a year or two that why you didn't choose to run it on cloud. So it's that kind of a predominant phenomenon today. So that brings us appropriately to the next slide, which is about benefits of cloud. If you really look at it, the benefits we have already kind of covered. It's the ability to pay only for what you use. It's your ease and faster deployment. Your ability to pay month on month. It's encouraging some standardization of systems, centralization of systems, requiring less in-house staff, that is management and administration overhead for something that's not directly related to your business, and your ability to be at the cutting-edge technology or latest service always, because if it's not a cost that you already incurred, you can always choose to go with another player for the latest infrastructure they have, and your ability to share the system, and so on and so forth, right? So these are all the benefits that are essentially the cloud offers, and because of which cloud is becoming popular also. That brings us to the next logical section of the presentation, which is cloud-enabled testing. So from the scope perspective, I think for the rest of the 10-15 minutes that we're going to present, we will focus mostly around the first of the flavors, which is infrastructure as a service. Rupesh, is that okay? Because we are about 5:35 already. So we
yes,
plan.
Sir. I think, yeah, we should wrap up in 15 minutes at the most. Right.
Yeah, so that we can have some interaction with our lovely audience today. I see quite a few of them online and probably itching to ask questions. In fact, not sure how many of them would have seen some of the LinkedIn shares that I'm doing. I promised a stimulating conversation today, and I requested them that they should bring their own beverage. So hopefully they're all enjoying a good beverage and find our conversation stimulating as well. Rupesh?
Yes, I'm sure they definitely have brought the BYOD, not device but drink.
Yeah. So Rupesh, do you want to cover the next 2 or 3 slides quickly?
Sure. I'll give a quick walkthrough of the slides. So eventually, let's do a short recap. What we have done is till now, we looked at what are the key drivers in the market. Number 2, and how the cloud is, playing a critical role. We looked at what is the definition of cloud. We looked at what are the different flavors of cloud, and then what are the key benefits out of it. we might have told you, verbally also, but we are showing you certain reports, statistical reports conducted out of ITC, Forrester, Gartner, different companies to, give a solid footing how the industry is being read by the analyst as such, right now in the infrastructure space. So now when we are entering into this section, we are trying to look into it that how testing as a function can be enabled in all the three perspectives on the, if you look at program management function, CTQ, how the cost can reduce, how the time can be faster, and how the quality can be improved, right? So let's look at this section is basically, we'll explore what are the two aspects of it. Number one, the functional testing, how it will get better enabled with the help of cloud-based environment. Number two, the performance testing aspect, right? So I'm right now jumping onto Sridhar's slide number 10. Very good, you're there. So see, if we look at it, normally when we are testing multiple permutation combinations of browsers, operating systems, or string applications, what is the biggest problem? Right, biggest problem is I don't have that many operating systems. I don't have money to time and money to buy the licenses. I don't have that many kind of machines, right? For the iMac, I need iMac hardware. For the Windows, I need a Windows-based hardware, right? For the other ones, for the Android-based operating system, I need Samsung devices or Google devices. For Microsoft-based Windows mobile software, I need Nokia-based phones, other different phones, right? Different companies which are supporting those particular operating systems. So it becomes so many permutation combinations. If you look at in the industry right now with operating systems, in the browsers, in the screen resolutions, and several other aspects, that to make them available in your lab is really a humongous job. Personally, from my experience, I've seen that smaller companies or even mid-sized testing companies will not have that kind of scale and bandwidth. Luckily, in Wipro, we do have right, like Vishada, right?
Absolutely. So if you even
yes.
It's even humanly impossible to replicate all those mobile devices in a lab, right? or all those different.
You will need it once a year kind of thing, right? Why you would buy it so much?
Right. Continue, Ruben.
Yes, so, yes. So, so if we look at it, like luckily in Wipro also we have a telecom lab. It provides multiple permutation combination of network bandwidth. But that might not be possible in every company. So what industry is bringing out is that we can give you the lab on the rent, which can be just even for a couple of hours or a couple of days, you can rent it out, right? You want different browsers, you want different infrastructure, you want HP Blade server, you want IBM servers, you want mainframe Z servers, you want Android-based phones, you want Microsoft mobile-based phones, different bases of the hardware, different bases of the software, you can obtain it. So that really gives it a punch that it gives you both things. It gives you speed, that because those companies do have the infrastructure to deliver you the speed, it gives you much faster speed. Give you cost. It's also not very, very expensive to afford. You can easily manage your work with them, right? That gives a high, very, very solid advantage in doing functional testing with the help of cloud-based environment. So, Shita, any points?
No, very appropriate report. I think this is one of the fundamental challenges that we typically face, that when you want to do a end-to-end business process testing, you take a banking as a scenario. You are not in a position to replicate some of the configurations that are required for you to test out that entire scenario or a business process. What we end up doing is we end up testing only some part of the entire scenario, which we are able to simulate in the lab or in an environment. So here is an opportunity to actually test it out in real life and real time, different configurations of the environment, and even see how the handoff or how the transaction is getting fulfilled and what amount of time is it taking. So there is an element of non-functional requirements that also can be tested much better when you take it to cloud.
Agreed. Right.
Right. So
okay, let's jump on to the next one. Should I think play the animation, then people will be able to see a little bit of our effect.
Yeah, I will do that.
Sure. So, so first of all, yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, we saw, that, how the functional testing can be enabled with the cloud-based environment. Now we are looking at that, how a performance testing can get enabled with the help of a cloud-based environment. First of all, let's understand how the traditional performance testing works. If you have worked on any kind of performance testing projects, the way those operate is that you will have maybe in New York, maybe in London, maybe in LA, or maybe in India, you will have a couple of load generating machines, right? That is how you will be generating load onto your application under test, right? If you've seen this particular animation also. But if I want to test my application across the world with maybe 50 different cities of the world presently, and with maybe maybe 10,000 or 20,000 users, do I have any kind of any kind of leeway, any kind of setup which can be set up in a couple of days, can do the testing? Obviously not, right? And then that is right now not available in our hands. So if we look at the second, Chitra, take it to the second slide on the slide one. Sure. So eventually, and meanwhile, as the animation is getting played, if we look at it, like I want to test from 50 machines, right? Like 50 locations in the world. I want to test with 50 different network latencies possible in my hand. That might not be possible with the traditional lab structure into which we manage, right? Can I get 200 machines just for 2 weeks for the load testing? Can I get those on the 5 different network speeds? Can I get those ones securely placed in 50 different cities in the world? May not be possible, right? That's very, very rare. But with the help of cloud-based infrastructure, cloud-based setups, you can definitely do it much, much faster. We are definitely going to discuss in a further case study also that how we have done it for one of the customers, where we have done for 1 million users load test, right? So this is the animation which is, which will help you to get a little bit of overview that across the world, if you want to generate the load onto application, that is getting enabled with the help of cloud-based infrastructure. Chitra, any points?
No, I'm perfectly fine with what you said. Anyway, there is one case study coming up where you're going to cover some more detail. So I'll move on to the next slide. You can continue to speak holistic solution.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Holistic perspective. So if you look at this particular solution, what we're trying to show is that on the upper box we are showing what are the different different applications which are providing infrastructure. Like there is a company called as GoGrid.com. There is a company Amazon. Most of you must have heard about it. There is a company called as Rackspace.com. There is a company called iMega. There is a Google also playing a critical role in providing infrastructure. There is another company called as SkyTab.com. So these are companies who can easily give you the infrastructure within one day, within a couple of hours they can give you, and they charge fairly minimally. If you want to use it, I'll give you an example that once I wanted to do for my gmail.com, for my Gmail account, I was out of space. So I wanted to buy maybe 1 GB space. And I just paid 300 rupees per year, right? Within 300 rupees I got 1 GB. You might recall your older days when even if you have to use a little bit of space, on your web-based email of Hotmail, you have to keep on deleting your older emails, right? You cannot keep old emails and still buy the space very cheaply. So gone are those days, right? And this kind of infra enablement by the cloud is really helping to deliver faster. And on the other side, if you look at it, even the load testing tools are also getting cloud enabled. Like there's a cloud test tool developed for the load testing purpose by Swasta. Right now, even HP has come with a cloud enabled software as a service model. There's a Lodestorm company, there's OpenST company, there's several other companies playing key role in providing load testing tools as a software as a service. The reason that they become more and more successful with this model is that because load testing is never a whole life cycle exercise. Functional testing might be a whole. life cycle exercise, but load testing will be only like 2 weeks in 6 months window, right? So why to pay for the license for the whole year, right? So you can use the load generation only for those 2 weeks by paying to the company only for those 2 weeks. That makes it big hit, really big hit in the industry with how the cloud enablement is helping us. So this is playing a critical role into it. Shredder, any points? Hello, Shredder.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I'm good with
Okay.
it. So we'll move on to the next slide.
Yes, let's move on. Sure.
Yeah. So ultimately,
Okay.
if you look at it, yeah, go ahead, Rupesh.
Sure.
Rupesh, go ahead.
Sure. So, like, if we look at it, we thought, it'll help you as an audience to really understand what testing is, was yesterday and what is today, and what is the testing of tomorrow. If you look at it in the left-hand side, we are seeing the traditional testing, which is slow and ineffective, which is very expensive, which has a cumbersome deployment process, which requires lesser technical skill, which requires more in-house staff required for maintenance of the labs. And definitely one plus point is it has a lesser security risk. But a cloud-enabled testing, how it will be, enabling us? It has a pay-per-use model. It's very good, right? You only pay for whatever the service you're using. It is much faster in the deployment time, right? You want it for in next 4 hours, you can get 50 machines. Right? So it might require more technical skill because when you're dealing with the cloud infrastructure-based or applications, you will have to little bit know about the nitty-gritty of dealing with these websites and applications and all that. So that way, right? Requires minimal in-house staff. Like I remember that in my previous company we used to have a lab in US. So there we used to keep 2 to 3 people full time in US only, local people who can manage the lab, and we used to have about 200 to 300 machines in the lab. So that thing is not needed. You don't need to spend so much money to hire a guy in the lab and all that stuff, right? Rent an office and all that, right? Lab is all on the cloud, right? And more security risk. This is a big negative point that definitely you are more prone to security risk, even though there are ways to handle it. But definitely, this is one of the serious concerns in most of the people's mind who use cloud-based services. And lower total cost of ownership. The overall capex and plus opex is definitely much lesser than a traditional, base testing services. So definitely, you will see more and more cloud-based environments you're using or cloud-based application using into your day-to-day testing. You will see a lot of value coming in all the aspects. Shredder, any points you want to add?
No, absolutely fine with what you've covered. Essentially, there is a perception that today the traditional testing is consuming too much of resources. It's a bottleneck and not leading to effectiveness. Some of these at least are getting addressed when you move into a cloud-enabled testing, which makes it pay-per-use, which allows you to be faster, and probably, when you move to the cloud, some of the issues that are plaguing testing world today, such as the environment issues, will kind of disappear or at least are externalized from the enterprise. So thereby the perception change may happen about testing community also.
Yes, very true. Even perception change will definitely happen in the industry also.
Right. So let me move on to the next slide. Okay, here is the example from the retail world. Rupesh, you want to quickly cover it in a minute? We are at 5:50.
Sure. Yeah, I know. Let's cover it up, I think, quickly. So, see, eventually we just wanted to give you guys a little bit of scratch that, within Wipro, we have done one of the load testing which we have done for more than 50,000 virtual users. I'm sure most of you might not have even done a load test of 10,000 users, into which we utilized, the cloud-based environment from Amazon.com, and we took hundreds of machines to generate the load. and we opened, it was total burst from the cloud. So even after that particular, load test, we were also convinced that, cloud can deliver value. When we did it a couple of years back, that there's a lot of value coming out of cloud, and we can do it much faster. We can generate load. So that was something, I just wanted to bring it up over here. That for one of the retail customers, we had done this kind of work, and they also were amazed to find that, with such a lesser cost in with so much higher agility in the business, how we can deliver so much better, right? So this brings a lot of value on the table for our customers also. So Shita, happy as let's come speak. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is one example of how cloud testing can really help enterprises in quickly scaling up to the demand for a holiday season or otherwise, and scale down without having to make any upfront investment. So that by itself is a huge benefit that they're getting. So, but yes, like all things, even cloud and cloud testing does not come without its share of concerns and issues. So there are definitely some concerns. That is why still people are not fully jumping in. If I am not mistaken, some of the recent reports have even said that the cloud adoption is not as great as it was forecasted a year ago. And that is because of some of the concerns that we are trying to sum up in the next two slides.
Yeah.
So the first and foremost, yeah, go ahead, Rupesh. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. I think just give a nutshell, I think, it will be good enough.
Right. So the first and foremost concern that comes up in most of the people's mind is that of security. So essentially, people still wonder, if I move on to the cloud, is my data and information secure? As it is, when I have it in my own campus, it still is prone to so much of problems, security issues. Is it safe when I kind of move it on to the cloud? Can I really trust this cloud provider or these other dangers of hacking and so that apart, there are some other interesting things that we kind of picked out. Leading analysts kind of write that the cloud, the test environment, does not reflect the production environment. It's not an exact replica of the production environment. That is one. Then there are other issues and concerns around integration is not kind of not as easy as it used to be. Right, or for instance, the other things that come up is, kind of not having enough ability to customize the cloud infrastructure at your disposal. So that's another big concern that some people have. Then there is a regulatory compliance issue. Does the use of cloud go against any of the regulatory and compliance norms that are out there? If somebody has to use a cloud that is available in India, does something like a SOX compliance or something else, the Dodd-Frank Act, go against that because the data is moving across the borders? So these are some of the typical challenges, concerns, and issues that the industry is grappling with.
Yeah, in fact, Shita, I want to let me add one important point just struck me. I don't know how many people have gone through newspaper that it has been told that once Satya Nadella became CEO of Microsoft now a couple of weeks back. So this guy has been since he is also Indian. So people are demanding, the India-based Microsoft office is demanding from him that bring all the cloud hosting to India. You got the point. There has been a lot of fear factor till that what will happen if we move our labs and everything of the cloud-based things, from the Microsoft Redmond office of within US to India-based offices. But this is something really picking up. So there are two aspects. Number one is regulatory issues. Number two is reputational issues or internal issues in the organizational dynamics, which are not pushing organization not to adopt cloud as of now. So that is also one thing which is stopping people not to adopt the cloud kind of thing.
Absolutely, I agree with you. So we are like kind of cutting into time now. So let's actually see if we can take at least a few questions from the audience.
Sure, sure.
Any closing remarks before we hand over? I think we are good, right? These are the typical challenges and issues, concerns that we have.
Yeah, I think good. This is good, Shiva.
Yeah. So we are pretty much covering the agenda, which is about, what are the drivers and what is the cloud computing all about, what benefits does it offer, and what is enabled testing on a cloud setup, and what are the concerns and issues in it. So at this point in time, Aradhana, can you help us open up the lines for any questions if there are any live audience questions that are coming up?
Yes, so thanks for the insightful presentation. I would request you to read out the questions and their answers so that all our users may listen to your insights. So you should be able to see the questions right about now. Are you able to get the questions?
Yes, I'm able to see them now.
All right.
Okay, it's an interesting question from Ramesh. He is wondering if we strongly believe that cloud-based testing will solve the environmental issues.
Okay. Yes, and the whole presentation is all about this concept only. That it definitely helps, and trust me, I have done it for two projects myself. It does help in both the aspects. Even let me add a little more twist to this reply. I don't know if how many of you have been to public banks, in State Bank of Patiala, State Bank of India. 10 years back, all these people, when they were computerized, they had a lot of issues in adopting the computer. But now when I go to their branches, I really don't feel that kind of fear factor in them, or they're using it with much more ease. The same thing is with this thing. It's not that it will not help us. It is definitely going to help us either in the software and the infrastructure angle. Its only thing is we getting more and more comfortable with how to deploy those configurations, how to use those softwares. Once we do it, we will be, this is going to rock it, This is like the next gen thing. So we cannot say no to it.
Right. So my take would be probably this is not a silver bullet that would address all of the environmental issues. But one typical set of issues that definitely address, and it is also offering some additional capabilities to configure differently for enabling better testing. So one more question is around security, Rupesh. Suman has this question. The question is like, what security testers or consultants should know, particularly in cloud testing? Is there any related certification?
Okay. Honestly speaking, I also do not have any pinpointed answer for it. Number one, they got to understand what is the meaning of cloud, what are the different flavors of it, what are the cloud 1-on-1 kind of concepts. Number two, they need to understand how the industry is moving. And number three, maybe I don't know if there are any specific certifications, but there's so much data available on the Google. You will get plenty of videos in YouTube and Google, not PDF files to read. So get started anywhere. There's plenty to read. So.
Right. So actually, if you really look at it, some of these concerns around security, I feel, are overstated. The mindset comes because of the thinking that the entire infrastructure, if it's lying in my premise, it's safer. But it's not like that anymore. Even if the infrastructure is lying with me in my premise, I'm still open for all the security threats that are out there because you are kind of connected to the internet or otherwise. So it is not really so much of an issue, just moving this infrastructure from your premises to some other provider. So in terms of certifications, there are plenty that you can pursue. So
definitely, there's a lot of information available. Even if they put on Google, they can get good number of certificates.
Right. So these are some interesting questions. There are many other questions which are mostly around security or who is providing some service on something. So those are things that can easily be Googled out. I'm just like skimming through the questions for some interesting ones.
Okay, okay. In fact, Ishit, I think, we'll see if in the coming weeks we can cover up maybe one more series which will show a little more detail on cloud testing, which are the companies providing these kind of services. So we can see how to address those kind of questions from these people.
All right. So there is an interesting question from Gaurav. He says, how do we decide whether to go for cloud-enabled testing or not? Is it only vendor-dependent providing applications, or can service providers like Wipro and competition also plan to provide cloud infrastructure platform service to its clients?
Yeah. I would say, see, if there is no dependency on the customer, I mean, obviously, of the buy-in of the concept is there, but nobody is stopping you to propose that concept. See, I mean, if you tell your customer that, hey, you spend $10,000 on your load and license for the year, I got a corporation that you can just spend $2,000 per year on your load and license. That guy will be excited. He got 8,000 rupees in his pocket, right? So anybody will be excited to hear this kind of ideas. So I think build a proposition, choose your vendor, and go to the customer. They should definitely get excited.
Right.
Due to time constraint, I would have to ask both the speakers to take the unanswered questions offline, which I will share with you through email. So before we close down, if you would like to take one more question, we can do that. And I would request you to give your closing summary.
All right. So it's fine. We will take rest of the questions offline, like we did last time. So if you really look at it, cloud as an enabler is here to stay, and it's a question of when, not if, before enterprise start moving into this space. The entire cloud as an emerging technology will mature over a period of time, and it will become one of the biggest enablers for the economies as well as the social life. That's how I would like to sum it up. Rupesh, closing remarks from you?
Yeah, I think very well summed up, Shridhar. I would say I'm hopeful and I'm fairly confident that the audience is really excited after lecture to go on Google and do a little bit of searching on the cloud-based environments and how it can help them in day-to-day lives. So if that has worked, it means we have been successful in our job today.
Yes. So that's all from our side, Aradhana. We are good from our side.
Yes, and I'm really thankful to our guest speakers today for conducting this wonderful and interactive webinar. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgig.com by tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Sridhar. Thank you, Rupesh, for all your time. I hope you have a great evening ahead.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Bye.